Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and I I had a hard time with this one. Not coming up with the concept or the points I want to make, because once I realized the show sucks, it was really easy to rip it apart. But the reason why I had a hard time with this one is because I actually do kind of like Doctor Who. Um, somewhat, sort of, a little bit, kinda, and it's kind of like complicated. But I realize there are some what they call Whovians out there that are either going to find this video deeply offensive, or incredibly obnoxious, and everyone else who maybe only has a moving my camera by the way will say passing familiarity with Doctor Who is probably going to learn something that they may have not already known. Perhaps this will either make you more curious about the show or make you realize, you know what? She makes some good points. Maybe I don't want to watch this British sci-fi Star Trek kind of almost but not really knockoff thing. So let's get into it. My first complaint with Doctor Who is an easy one to complain about. It's the fucking Daleks. And what I mean by that, it isn't the design of the Daleks. I mean, yeah, it's a fucking trash can, literally a trash can, turned upside down with a plunger sticking out of its nose. And then, as the show progressed, they got a little bit more bigger budget and they kind of redesigned the Dalek. But at the end of the day, it's still an ugly ass design, and it's not fucking scary. And the reason why I say that is because the Daleks aren't fucking scary at all. They're not. Every single fucking time in the 60 plus year history of Doctor Who, literally every single 100% of the time, the Doctor encounters a Dalek, any number of Daleks. It could be one lonely Dalek, it could be a whole fleet of Daleks, it could be 2 or 3 specialty Daleks, whatever. Literally 100% of the time, when he encounters a Dalek, he gets terrified. He tells his companion, I'm sorry, you're going to die. And this is it, the end of the world. And we're all fucked. And there's nothing I can do about it because the Daleks are indestructible? I guess? I don't know. Whatever. And then, by the end of the episode, he defeats the fucking Daleks. Every goddamn time. Not only that you could chalk up to lazy writing, you know, because by now the Doctor should have figured out, you know what? I've encountered these bozos 10,000 times in the span of my life, and I always come out ahead. So maybe I'm better than them. I shouldn't be afraid of them. Maybe. Yet somehow, every single time he sees a Dalek, he gets terrified, like, oh shit, this is it, I'm gonna die. Even though he never dies. Okay, yeah, he does die, and he regenerates. That is the thing that happens on the show. Yes, the Doctor does die. The Daleks never kill the Doctor. They never defeat the Doctor. They never win. So his fear of the Daleks is not just unjustified, it's laughable. Because here's the kicker. He literally, single-handedly, by himself, defeated the entire Dalek Empire in the Time War, trapped the Daleks in the time lock, and then went about his life free of the Daleks until they, started popping up again. And, of course, every time he encounters them, they're only a minuscule fraction of the threat they were during the Time War that he single-handedly defeated by himself. So this immortal god complex alien who thinks he's above all morality has no business being afraid of the fucking Daleks. He should literally walk into a Dalek fleet with swagger. Like, it's okay, bro, I got this. That is what the Doctor should present when he encounters a Dalek. He has no justifiable reason to be afraid of them. They have never hurt him. They didn't defeat the Time Lords. They didn't conquer Earth. They've never killed the Doctor. As far as I know, none of the episodes I've ever seen do they even kill any of his companions, even though his companions always get flush white with fear and tears in their eyes, like, oh my god, we're gonna die. And then at the end of the episode, they're all eating cake because the Doctor saved the day, because he always does. At least when it comes to the Daleks. So the Daleks aren't fucking scary. Let's get the fuck over it. Jesus Christ, I'm sick of the goddamn Daleks. So that's one problem I have with Doctor Who. The second problem I have with Doctor Who is the whole fucking regeneration thing. I know that from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, the reason why they came up with the whole concept that the Doctor can die and then come back to life is because the actor who was playing him was dying in real life, and they weren't ready to cancel the show because it was too popular. And so they wrote this into the show so they could keep going. But there was an easier fix. When he started flying around in the TARDIS from episode 1, he had his granddaughter with him. So not only were there other Time Lords, other Gallifreyans, on the show from the very fucking beginning, but there was a whole fucking planet of Time Lords who all had their own TARDIS. Literally, they could have kept the show going by him passing the torch to another Time Lord, because we know the Doctor is just a title anyways. So they didn't have to come up with this bullshit, convoluted, doesn't make sense, half-assed, he dies and then just comes back alive somehow with a new face and a kind of new personality. But he keeps most of his memories, but sometimes not all of his memories. I don't fucking care. It's bullshit. Don't even try to defend it. It's bullshit. The in-universe explanation for why the Time Lords can regenerate doesn't even make sense either, because they have an arbitrary limit. They have 12 extra lives, like a fucking video game. No continues. And then when they die, they run out of regenerations somehow. And that's it, they're done. They can't regenerate anymore. Unless they're the Doctor or the Master, in which case somehow they always find a way to break that rule and give the Master and or the Doctor a fresh round of regenerations anyways to keep them coming back even after they've spent all their regenerations. Number 3, the Time War. The Time War doesn't make sense as a concept. I'm not going to get into this. This could be a whole nother video down the road in the future. But the Time War doesn't make sense because the mythology is, the in-canon universe explanation is, the Time War was allegedly the final war between the Daleks and the Time Lords. First of all, except it isn't, because even after the Time War ends, which we'll talk about, more than one Time Lord still survives, and more than one Dalek, including the Dalek Emperor, still survives. But anyways, that's getting ahead of ourselves. Now let's go back to how it ended. So the Doctor, in his in by himself, in his own god complex superiority, thinks he's the final arbiter of all things right, made a decision to trap all of the Daleks and all of the Time Lords in this time lock that erased both Skaro and Gallifrey from existence, trapping them in a weird state of time, in between time, I guess, where time never passes for them, but it also never stops for them. It doesn't make sense because they never really explain it. And the time lock is supposedly impenetrable, so that not even the Doctor himself can reverse it, except spoilers, when the story necessitates a Deus Ex Machina, where only opening the time lock and letting the Time Lords out just long enough to save the day before closing the rift again. It doesn't fucking make sense. Don't try to make sense of it. It doesn't fucking make sense. And then you have Ginny, the Doctor's daughter. So, in this episode, it was David Tennant, and he's on a planet where two warring factions are cloning themselves, and the clones are fighting a war. And they make a clone of the Doctor, but it's not a perfect clone. It's a female Time Lord who has his regenerative properties, sort of. She regenerates after she dies, but she doesn't get a new body and a new face and a new personality. She just sort of wakes up. Which, again, goes against established Time Lord science. I know you're gonna at me. Don't come at me. I know there's the one time where David Tennant chose to use his regeneration energy to heal himself, but not fully regenerate because they weren't ready to get rid of David Tennant. I know they did that, which is another bullshit move, by the way, where they once again ignored the rule for the convenience of that one episode, and then they're ignoring the rule going forward, pretending like it, one, never happened, and two, couldn't happen again because reasons. So, okay, whatever. And then let's go back to Ginny. So Ginny just disappears. Now, we've had a long time since Ginny disappeared. Like, more than 10 years since she's been referenced. She had a spaceship. She's a Time Lord. So she knows how to... Well, she knows she can't die. And she knows the Doctor is out there. And she has a pretty good idea that he has an affinity for Earth. So it wouldn't take her long to figure out how to get to Earth, go to London, meet up with UNIT, and just wait for the Doctor to show up one day and say, "Hi, remember me?" And then there she is. When you're talking about someone who literally can live forever and flies a spaceship, there is no excuse for her to not have made her way to Earth to reconnect with the Doctor. That's just lazy fucking writing, and I don't give a shit what anyone says. That's bullshit. That's another bullshit thing. And then there is Rose Tyler, which I understand they've made some changes to Rose in recent years, which I've only read about on Twitter. So don't at me with this because I don't follow Doctor Who anymore and I don't give a fuck. Because the longer it goes on, the more goddamn convoluted it's going to get. However, here's the thing. The Doctor, I'm not going to just say traditionally, I mean in 100% of the cases, picks a companion who is romantically unavailable on purpose. He doesn't pick them as romantic partners. he picks them as children. He can show off his knowledge about how he can impress with his how cool he is, and take them on a space trip through time and space, and feel cool about himself, because that's literally all he is an old man driving around in a hot pink convertible Ferrari, picking up teenage girls and taking them on road trips. And that's literally what fucking Doctor Who is. However, somehow he does get romantically entangled with Rose, and goes a step further and finds a way to create, I want to say accidentally, but I don't remember the details, a human clone, replica, duplicate of himself that has no Time Lord DNA, that just has the one heart. So he can go on living with that one, he can go on living in eternity, while Rose can have her David Tennant doctor that her and her doctor can grow old with. Whatever, it's fucking bullshit. Also, by the way, he has to drop her off in a parallel universe that is, and he says this 100 times in the episode, is impossible to get to, yet he does. And let's talk about that for a second. Literally, the Doctor has infinite knowledge. He has been to the beginning of the universe, to the end of the universe, and he's lived hundreds of thousands of years in his time machine and seen literally every point in history on every planet that has ever existed, and knows which points are allegedly fixed points in time, which we're going to come back to, and which points are a blank canvas, he can do what he wants. So he has infinite knowledge. And yet somehow he never sees it when he's about to die, which is bullshit. And somehow he keeps claiming things are impossible that he ends up finding out aren't impossible. But if he has literally seen the whole of human history, or the whole of history, in his mind at all times, like he claims he can, he literally says that in more than one episode, he can see the whole of time simultaneously in his mind alongside what's happening presently, which is bullshit. No brain, alien or otherwise, could handle that. But then nothing should ever surprise him. He should always know when he's about to die, because he should have already seen it, I guess, in his travels or whatever. And also, if he can see the beginning of time and the end of time and everything in between, then nothing should ever surprise him. And he should never be able to say, well, that's impossible, and then be surprised when he finds out it isn't. He should know, oh yeah, I guess that isn't impossible. So that's bullshit. And let's talk about the goddamn TARDIS. And I'm not just going to pick apart the whole it's bigger on the inside, because that's a fucking joke. But let's push that aside for a second. Let's push that aside for a second. Allegedly, the TARDIS is a living thing that the Doctor has said more than one time is grown on Gallifrey, and it is the home world of the TARDIS species, and that they're a living creature. But it's also, in addition to being a living thing, it's also a machine, which I'll half accept, because Cybertronians in the Transformers universe are living machines, so I'll half accept that. But it's also got this thing inside of it called the Time Vortex, which is also a living consciousness entity thing inside of, and also a part of, but also separate from the TARDIS somehow, that allows the TARDIS to travel through time and space, allegedly, but also can, on occasion, make conscious decisions for the Doctor, as well as manifest a physical humanoid form to interact with the Doctor. Which, again, is bullshit. And then, yes, the whole fucking it's bigger on the inside, that gets a middle finger. Don't fucking at me. I'm not even going to get into it. Just fuck off with that. I know it's a running joke, but it's a fucking stupid joke. And, god damn, I could literally rip this fucking show apart for 3 hours if I wanted to. And I'm not even going to talk about the Cybermen. I'm not even going to talk about the pig people with the button in the back of their head that if you touch the button, they die. Fucking stupid. I'm not talking about the plant people or the lizard people or the fucking whatever. Or the fucking face of Bo, which is ambiguous. It may or may not be male or female because it got pregnant in one episode. But it also may or may not be the eternal, everlasting form of Dr. Jack Harkness, which may or may not have just been a throwaway joke. But they've never clarified in universe, to my knowledge. As well as, what the fuck, I don't give a shit anymore. Now let's talk about the so-called fixed point in time. So the Doctor allegedly, I'm using that word here, can see the whole of time and space in his mind simultaneously with the present events that he is experiencing, which is bullshit, but whatever. That's how they explain it. That is how they explain it in the show. And he explains it that time is wibbly wobbly, blah blah blah, in flux, anything goes, except for what are called fixed points in time. However, every single fixed point in time he has ever encountered on the show, classic and New Who, are literal, historical, past tense events in human history. Never future events, because, the future hasn't been written yet, and they can't literally predict the future. They're just making it up. And never on alien worlds. Ever. It's always just Earth's ancient history that has fixed points in time. So either the time vortex or the time sweeper thingies from that one episode with Rose's dad, or the Time Lords, or the fucking Daleks. I don't give a fuck. I don't fucking know, and I don't give a shit. Something out there decides that Pompeii is going to happen and nothing can change that. And if they try to change that, they, accidentally cause it. Even though it was caused by an alien interference. So why would the universe, or whatever it was that fixed that point in time, allow a alien life form to alter human history in that one specific instance, but not in other instances? It doesn't fucking make sense. And they never clarify what the cosmic force or entity or whatever it is that decides what's a fixed point in time. Unless, again, going back to the Doctor's arrogance, it's his own fucking whatever he decides. He just makes up in his mind, you know what? This is a fixed point. I'm not going to change it because he chooses not to. Or, I don't fucking know. Whatever. I'm done. Doctor Who can suck a dick. And I don't care if it's a girl dick or a cow dick.